Hey guys, this is Morten Hake here, and today I am so fortunate to have Mr. Paul Janka here with me. He spoke at the Morten Hake Summit, and before that he wasn't that famous. There was not so many people in Norway that knew about him, but after the summit I got so many responses that they wanted more from Paul Janka, and the sales of the DVDs in Norway, they sold so much, and I got so many responses that they wanted more from you. So that's why I got just 10-15 minutes to interview you. So hello.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me on. Question for you: Why there were a lot of great speakers? Why do you think my talk stood out? What was it about what I talked about?
I think actually that the reason was because you first of all, you actually had some cool results at the actual summit that a lot of people saw, because you flirted with a lot of girls there, and people, guys they just saw that you were for real, basically, and also that you were not so, there was not so much abstract. There was not, you had something concrete. You talked about flirting. This is how to flirt. This is what you can do to turn on a woman. And so they had something concrete. They were like, oh, this is working. This is real. This is cool. So I want more from him. And then I showed them some videos. Was that?
They can go out and apply it right away. There's not a lot of cerebral, abstract, conceptual stuff. I understand.
Exactly. And that's, I had to have some of the abstract stuff and also some inner game stuff and all that. And you also talked about that as well, but yeah, you gave some concrete stuff that people can actually implement right away, and I think a lot of people have done it and became more successful with women just after the one speech you did there.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. I know you have a different background of getting into the community than most guys, because most guys, they either pick up the book from 2005 or they some of their buddies tell them about the community, and then they start to study it. But yours approach was totally different, right?
Yeah, first of all, I didn't really know any of this stuff existed. And part of it's because I'm a bit older. I'm 30. I just turned 36 a couple days ago. So I have a lot more years under my belt than someone who's in his earlier mid-20s. So I spent 10 or 15 years chasing girls. I had girlfriends, but I spent a lot of time when I was single running around chasing girls in Boston, where I was living, then in New York City, where it really, the amount of girls allowed me to perfect the system, and also just, not just the system, but all the intuitive stuff that goes along with relating to women, especially new women, strangers, girls that I just meet. It's different with a girlfriend. So at a certain point, I had so many attractive women in my life. People were saying, write a book, and I was an aspiring writer. So one week I took 2 days off, and I wrote something called Getting Laid in NYC. Yeah. It was a short little 17-page pamphlet, really, but it was funny, and it talked about what guys do wrong.
Is that still available?
Yeah, you can Google it, and it's available in our product offering.
Okay.
And I just saw a lot of guys stuck in the wrong path, like I was in my early 20s, spending money, spending time, effort, and not getting results. So I wrote this funny little bit and emailed it to friends, and it took off. Like guys, I found out later that all over the internet, guys were reading this, and a friend told me later that guys from Goldman Sachs would go, like, read it at their desk, law firms, investment banks, like all these, like, kind of alpha male type guys loved the material because it was so hard hitting and unapologetic. And I also heard, like, guys in Jersey would get around and drink beers and be like, WWJD, what would Janka do? And they would, like, and then go out in the field and, like, implement the stuff. So this, like, underground phenomenon started happening. I didn't know about this. And actually, right after I wrote that, I got a girlfriend and I was out of the scene. And then 2 years later, we broke up. And am I getting the chronology right here? Hold on a second. Yeah. And a reporter got a hold of it and did an article in Psychology Today, The Mind of the Casanova. And right after that, I met a woman who was a TV producer, and we had a flirty thing. I had just broken up with my girlfriend. We started flirting.
Okay.
And she took my number and wanted to get together. And then I guess prior to that, like a couple nights before our date, she Googled my name and that document came up. She read the document and she was pissed because it's pretty male oriented and pretty masculine. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "You're an asshole. You're just a dog. You're trying to sleep with all these women." And I said, "Well, calm down." Her name was Jen. And we got together. I said, "Jen, here, let's just talk it through a little." So we had coffee and she said, "You know, I don't want to date you seriously, but if you want to come on the show, the Today Show, you can talk about your philosophy." So I did that, and it's like 6 million people.
Oh, okay.
And that, the way it works on the TV circuit is if you're on one of these big shows and all the other ones, if you're a good guest, and I was pretty controversial, so they got high ratings. All these other TV shows called me, Tyra Banks, Dr. Phil, Inside Edition, Fox News. And I spent like 6 months going around on TV saying like, yeah, I fuck all these women and I don't give a shit, and I'll tell you exactly how I do it, and there's a whole system. And then, you know, then businessmen approached me and I wrote a book, and then we held a seminar, etc. So anyhow, that's into it. And then only after that the ball was rolling there was I like, oh, look, other guys have their theory. So I read a lot of it. I agreed with it, some of the stuff, but most of the pickup guys, they only take you to the front door. Like they teach you what to say to a girl, body language, blah, blah, blah. But they don't tell you what to do once she's at your place. Like it's one thing to get a girl over. It's another thing to actually sleep with her. So a lot of my product offering and my main seminar is called Beyond the Digits. Mm-hmm. What you do after you get the phone number, how you don't screw it up so that you actually get sex. Because that's a lot of subtlety. With a new girl, a girlfriend, it's no problem. But to have sex with a lot of new girls, you have to have a pretty well-developed system so you don't, because most guys fuck it up like I did for a long time.
Mm. So, and you, because that was part of my question, you said that you saw that a lot of guys did it the wrong way. Because your material is basically, that's raw and it's uncensored and it's real. This is what works, and it's not, and it's, I mean, there's no excuses, there's no sugarcoating. It's just raw. This is what works. If you want what works, then read this and do this. It doesn't necessarily say that it's the most ethical thing or da-da-da, but...
Oh, me, I remember in one of our early interviews, you said, a lot of people think you're an asshole, Paul.
Yeah, I did.
You're going to get a reputation. The guys I know who sleep with a lot of girls, they're not always the nicest guys. And I have a girlfriend now, and I've actually become a much nicer guy and more sensitive and sweet. But yeah, it's nice. But everyone can notice it, my family, my friends. But when I was out there, you know, I've slept with many hundreds of women. When I was out there doing that kind of thing, there's an edge you need because a lot of hot women are difficult, and they'll test a guy. And what turns them on is a guy who's kind of cocky and a little bit of a jerk. I mean, not in a very deep sense. You don't hurt these women. I didn't hurt these women, but I kind of did what I wanted and took what I wanted. So
having the edge, right,
is an aggressive act. I mean, grabbing a girl, taking her pants off, kissing her, making, you know, a passionate thing. They've got to feel that from the beginning. So it can't be like a soft noodle. And you're gonna, you know, some women don't like a very masculine guy. It's threatening so there's an element of that.
Mm. Okay, so how much time did you actually use? Because I told all my list and my Facebook friends and so on that I was going to interview, and there was one guy who wanted to know how much time have you used before you got real results and starting to see a pattern. How many hours did you put into that?
I don't know, years.
Yeah.
Well, look, girls like me from when I was little. I even went to prom with the high school prom queen, and but I always screwed things up. Like I had opportunities. I was shy and I was nervous. Plus, just being naked around a girl, I didn't know how to, like, all the mechanics of that. I didn't have the experience, so I fumbled along. In my college years, I had girlfriends, so I got more confidence. But it's a big difference between meeting a girl and having a girlfriend versus being able to go, I want that girl on the street. And then have sex with her within like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So that skill took 10 years to develop. I mean, in my mid-20s, I hit and miss. What I did a lot, you asked earlier, I think you started to ask, what do guys do wrong? And I think that they give all this effort up front before the girls reciprocate it. So
what do you mean by that?
they take her out to dinner. They're constantly having long conversations on the phone because women like to be heard and like to communicate. So they're revealing their feelings. They're, like I said, dinner. They're buying gifts. And that's all great. And I think I do that with my girlfriend, but I think that has to come later. If you lead with that, I think you're going to either put in the friend zone or just get frustrated. And I did that in my 20s. A lot of guys do that if they don't, because that's what society says. But you have to keep in mind that society is really dictated by women in a lot of ways. I mean, it's designed, even marriage, in many, many ways. Our social structure is designed around protecting women and giving women what they want. If you think back like 500 years, society was set up very differently. Women had no rights. Women were properties, and that. So that's evolved. But today we have the situation generally, if a guy, especially in America, for example, if a guy does everything that's appropriate, he's going to end up like in a very weak position because women will get a lot of what they want. So,
like they say in Fight Club, it's a generation raised by women now.
It is, yeah. And women are very sophisticated, and they'll often get their needs met. So the question is, you don't want to give too much up front. You want to check her out for sexual compatibility as soon as possible. And then if it's a good mix, and you find that you like the sex, and a lot of girls, by the way, a hot girl might be a lousy lay too. I mean, whatever the guy's into. If you have some kinky shit or you're just into a certain type of sex, just because you see a girl and you spend weeks like taking her out to dinner, then it could be a flop when you get into it, and then you're like, fuck. So
I mean, guys shouldn't waste time on that. Shouldn't wait.
No.
Yeah. And also, funny thing, because I know that I think it was Match.com, they made a study on why people that are met online normally doesn't last. It's because a lot of the times they have used so much time together and getting to know each other and said all their secrets and invested so much and just given everything online. And when they finally meet, they maybe hook up, but it doesn't last because there's no tension anymore. There's no they want to grab more. There's nothing of that because they already know each other too good almost. That's almost the same concept, right?
In the book I wrote, which is the foundation book for our business called Attraction Formula, the title is kind of bland, but a lot of guys love it. There's some very unique thing. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I think it's very good. One of the things I talk about is overexposure. In other words, if you don't want to, in film, if you overexpose a film, there's no contrast and the image looks bad. The same thing when dating. Like if you give too much up front, like you said, you kill the tension and there's no mystery. And that stuff you have to manage in a long-term relationship, I'm finding. But even so, but especially in the beginning, like too much of that will kill it. And also, I don't know if you've had this experience, but I can get it. I've had experience where I'm very excited about a girl, and then when I go in to kiss her or fool around, we're just like the chemistry's off. Yeah. Then it's like, well, you spent all this time. It's better to. You don't have to sleep with a girl right away, but the sexual component is really the crux of the relationship. So that needs to be explored pretty quickly. And I think in general, the big mistake guys do is that they don't push that forward aggressively enough or assertively enough.
No, very true. All right. By the way, what do you think about the summit?
Your summit? I thought it was great. First of all, I think you did a great job of bringing speakers from all different areas, like body language, I don't know if he was a magician or what, but he was able to tell if people were lying and basically almost mind reading. The posture and body language one, the female contributors, I thought my speech was good on flirting and the title of what I spoke about was, because I find it's a very big challenge. When you get good with women, you're going to have temptation a lot. And of course, we're attracted to a lot of people. So I spoke about, it was called sexual discipline and managing attraction. So in other words, when you're around people you find attractive, but you can't do it, you're in a committed relationship. And so the talk kind of evolved into flirting without crossing the line, how to flirt effectively.
And then you actually took a sister on stage and flirted with her so guys could see exactly how you did it. So that was very cool.
Yeah, I did that. And I brought a guy off stage. I had flirted with some women, and I brought a guy on stage as a witness, and he said he was shocked at how you could see. I turned a girl who was just flat into, I flipped her switch, so she was sexually excited in the course of like 90 seconds, and he said he'd never seen something like that.
I know, I also got a testimonial from a little bit older guy, I think probably 30, 37 or something.
Right.
And then he said, I tested out Paul Janka stuff, and to be honest, it wasn't my type of, I mean, probably didn't fit my personality, but oh my god, it worked. I didn't know that you can get attraction so fast from women. I actually have the testimonial on reading. I'll show it to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and a little bit older guy, so he probably didn't feel very comfortable being very direct or being very sexual or doing the stuff, but he tried it, pushing his comfort, and then it worked amazingly. So
yeah, women respond to it. It's now I'm in a long-term relationship. I've had to like draw that in a little bit, but it's an amazing tool to be able to activate a woman's sexuality very quickly. But overall, I thought not only that, but I thought the way you organized it, the venue you chose, like everyone just had a great time. I think I learned a lot from, I think I spoke on day 2. After the first day, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much I've learned. And then day 2 came along. I mean, you really knocked it out of the park. If anything, I think you've set yourself up for a challenge for the second annual conference. It'll be hard to top that one, but it was.
It will.
Yeah.
Only, I mean, I'm starting to work on it now, planning it now with my partners, and I mean, we want to have some of the speakers back for next year because some of them was just so good. So that's a hint for you.
It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. So
good stuff. Okay.